afternoon. Heading into a beautiful weekend.
Yeah.
Man, it looks good out there. But it's hot and heavy on Klay Thompson's social media.
On the IG. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know you have. I do too. Such a hard time, like, talking about this. And in the back of your mind the whole time, you're just like, we sound like idiots right now.
This is so stupid.
Crazy.
I mean, it just is so stupid. But in 2024, it is commerce.
Well, but how do you send a message that you can't say with words? I would argue you do it all the time. We all do.
Yeah, it's usually nonverbal. It's, body language. Yeah. It's, eye rolls, or it's a number of different things. Yeah, silent treatment.
Right.
Sleep in the guest room.
Slam
a door.
So how do you do this when what you're trying to do is not send a message to somebody you live with or whatnot? You're trying to send a message in the business space. You can't really say it with words. You're trying to affect the outcome. You're trying to change behavior. You're trying to get public sentiment on your side.
That's the part of it.
How do you do it?
I don't think that you're not going to change the outcome.
I don't know.
I don't think that the Warriors are going to see that they got unfollowed and suddenly rush back. All right, Klay, you can start. We're going to give you 3 years. You get everything that you wanted. Please don't scrub us from your IG.
It's not that. It's not that.
I get it. I think you do this for public sentiment. I think that's the part of it that actually, to me, means something in all this.
I think that the Golden State Warriors are very, very careful with regard to stuff like this. They do not want a messy breakup. They don't want that. That's not good for them.
Well, it's impossible.
It's not impossible.
And they've done all the work already through all of the stories, the planted stories, the conjecture, the words that they've spoken about how much they want Klay Thompson, and the idea that Klay Thompson now gets to be a free agent really for the first time in his career. And we don't begrudge Klay Thompson the right and the chance to go out there and find something. And Joe Lacob talking about how, we're going to try to get out of this second apron. We're not doing $400 million again, my friends. And if, you look at the numbers and Klay gets what Klay is well worth, we can't afford to pay him that because we've got to get out of the second apron. So they've done all of the work. They laid all the stones across the creek. And now it's just a question of, can the fans walk across the creek on these stones and get to the other side? And I think they can.
Let's talk this out with our listeners. 888-957-9570. Doug in Berkeley. Hey, Doug, what's going on, yo? Willard and Dibs.
Hey, guys. Yeah, 3 quick takes.
Okay.
The last one will be about Klay. The first one is I got a shout out to Mark on the crossover. I'm going a little bit back. We were talking about isms.
Yeah.
And what they really are. That was one of the best. That was really, really one of the best. That's really what happens, and I think more people should recognize it. So I really want to, give you some credit on that one.
Well, thank you, Doug. And for those who weren't listening, I'll explain after your call what you're talking about because some people may not know. But thank you for that. Go ahead.
It was really good. Next thing, we're talking about the finals and Luka. And I think Dibs made a comment about, Luka, flopping and da-da-da. And you threw out the Iguodala thing. And I don't know if I was taking it wrong, okay? But I think that Andre Iguodala gets missed and gets forgotten. And I just want to say that we wouldn't have won several of those championships without him. We certainly wouldn't have won the first one. We were down 2-1. LeBron was killing us. One of the assistant coaches said, let's put Iggy on him. And the killing changed into, non-fatal stab wounds. LeBron still did really well, but Iggy did a big job in that. And, you can always see him, the other team coming down the court at the end of the game and going up for a shot, and Iggy slapped the ball away or steal it and pass it to Draymond. So I just want to say, let's not, and I don't know if you're doing this, so I don't know, but let's really give Andre some props and hold him in a little bit, of reverence because he was really great.
Thanks, Doug.
And
I'll handle my thoughts and emotions on Andre, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if I took you wrong. So I just want to, because the 2 free throws in the Oklahoma City game. I mean, he just He was an integral part of the team.
Sure
he was. Really, really part of the team.
Yeah.
And then, finally on Klay, I kind of feel good that we're wringing our hands so much because it shows how much we really value the guy. I kind of feel good that we don't know which way it's going to go because even though after the injury, he's not the same Klay, and I think it hurts him more than it hurts all the rest of us. The fact that we have all this discussion and we're wringing our hands, and it shows that we really care. We really respect what the guy has meant to us. And I think that, I think that if he really, really wants to retire a Warrior, he will be also walking across those stones, like you're saying, Dibs, and we can make this work. And if not, if it's just about the money, so be it. But I just think it shows our humanness that we really care about this guy, that we're so torn. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, Doug, thanks. I mean, look, anytime someone like him has the resume that he's built in this city and also done it the way that he has, you can be a winner and not really connect with the fan base. Klay has. Everybody sort of feels like they know him, the boat, the dog, all the stuff, right? Like, Klay Thompson has done a wonderful job with his persona, his connectivity with the with the Warrior fan base. The only thing that sticks out about what he said there at the end is, he's going to go if it's truly only about the money. I sort of think the opposite. I actually believe in your analogy, could they walk across the hot coals together? I think they could walk across the hot coals together. I think you could get Klay Thompson to maybe cut his salary almost in half if you did an unbelievable sales job on all of the other stuff. If you could make him believe that $20 million here is almost more respectful than $30 million over there, I think you could get Klay Thompson to listen. But I have no idea what the numbers are or whatnot. But I really do, based on not knowing Klay, but knowing all of those who do and have talked about him, I think this is about, how do you see me? What's my role? Pitch me on how this all matters for Warrior basketball and championships going forward. And what order am I in the priority list? And if the Warriors somehow, and I don't think they could do this, but if they could snap their fingers and be like, look, we're only going to pay you 20, but my gosh, we're going to make you the sixth man, and here's how you can still average north of 20 a game coming off the bench. Here's how the minutes will break down. And by the way, we'd like to get this done at 12:01 on July 1st because it is absolutely one of our highest priorities to keep you, Klay. I think all of that stuff would get him to listen. I don't think that's where the Warriors are. Yeah,
I still think that if it came down to, money being that big of a difference, and I think years are a part of it as well. I don't know if the Warriors are offering more than 2 years. I would imagine, and I would predict that Klay Thompson, when he signs in free agency on July 1st or July 2nd, he's going to get a 3-year deal. And I don't know if the Warriors are in the mindset or of the mind that they're going to want to give him 3 years. We don't really know, and we may never know what the Warriors offer versus what he gets elsewhere if he does, in fact, leave. But I do think you talked about the right things. It's role and priority, and it's money and length of contract. These are all things, and I'm predicting that whatever other team is interested in him, they're giving him more of everything.
888-957-9570. Matt in Berkeley next up. Hi, Matt. You're on with Willie and Dibby. Matt. All right, hop on the phone with Matt and see if you can teach him how we do this. No, seriously.
We go to him and then he talks.
Right, like I know it. I mean, I know people want to hear their voice on the radio. We'll send you an MP3 later, I promise. If you just say at the end of your call, MP3, and then give somebody an email address. I'm not even kidding. I'll do that for you, but we don't have time for it when we're trying to sit here and do the show. So anyway, call back, Matt, if you can figure all that out. 888-957-9570. The reason we're on this right now is the news breaks about an hour ago that Klay Thompson has unfollowed the Warriors on Instagram and removed some, if not most, Warriors-related content from his Instagram page. And I believe this means that a breakup is on the way. I really do. There's a lot of guesswork going on here. Nothing can be official until we get into July. But I really think with everything we've heard leading up to this moment, to have this happen on top of it and know that if this were just a joke or like Klay Thompson would be messing around with the emotions of the fan base, I don't buy it. I think Klay really wants to stay a Warrior. I don't think he's hearing what he wants to hear. I think he's upset, and I think that he believes that that moving on is the way that this is going to go.
It feels like it when you do what he's done, which is still to me somewhat comical, but in this day and age of professional athletes, this is what you do. It's a passive-aggressive move, but it sends a signal to fans, sports talk hosts, columnists, and I've seen it pop up in a number of different mediums where everybody's running with the story because it is a story when you just take your mouse or you take your phone and you go to your Instagram and you make one click and you delete a few 3 or 4 pictures, and now that suddenly is a thing, and away we go. So now we all speculate that this means that Klay is leaving, and a lot of times that's exactly what it means. We've seen it before time and time again, and this is not a contract negotiation ploy like it would be for, Debo or Brandon Ayuk when he puts up the poop emoji or whatever he was doing on his Instagram, and we all report on that. This is a player who has the ability to move on, and it feels like he's going to.
Well, I mean, here's the other thing. For anyone who's kind of like, come on, social media, I mean, where did Brandon Ayuk go first?
Yeah, social media.
And then where did he go second?
Probably social media.
Third?
Still social media, Mark.
He hasn't gone anywhere but social media.
Well, like you said, what can you do, though? If you're Brandon Ayuk, you can't go out and say, the Niners are screwing me.
Well, they did interviews. He did interviews at his locker on exit interview day. And I remember that interview where he was like, remember they asked him, they're like, what's the priority? Like, what would make this? He's like, this is where I'll be if this is the right place to be. Well, what would make it the right place to be? Well, winning. Which is funny because you're like, well, then done.
Yeah. Then you're staying.
49ers are a good
5th-year
team.
option. You
done.
don't even need an extension. Come on back and play.
All done. So I'll agree with you that whenever we make up all these reasons that aren't money, it's usually not that.
Yeah.
It's money. That's certainly what it is for Brandon Ayuk. That one we know. I do think the Klay one is a little bit more complex for 2 reasons. You're not dealing with someone who is about to get their first free agent contract. You're dealing with someone who's made $250 million on the court. I do think that's relevant. And we also know a little bit about Klay, about the sort of like introvert, at least mental introvert that he is. Someone who is a classic overthinker, somebody who gets offended by things when he encounters them if they're not what he wants. You gonna bench me? You gonna bench me? Kyle Comey's like, I didn't even ask you about you. So like this is someone like that, and so I just don't think he's willy-nilly with stuff like this. I don't think he's going to throw something like this around flippantly. So. You could certainly weigh in if you think this is a big deal, a small deal. What do you think it means, and are you ready for Klay Thompson to put on another jersey? I think we're just about there.
Yeah, I'm not ready for it, but I do think that we are there, and I've kind of thought that all along that this is going to be the way it goes based on so many different things. The breadcrumbs that you like to talk about, they're all leading in one clear direction, and there are a number of teams, 3 or 4 teams anyway, that are going to have cap room, that are teams that are in need of shooting, teams that are close to being winning teams. Maybe not championship teams, but winning teams. And we know that Klay is not going to want to go to some podunk team that has no shot to win just so he can get his numbers and get his check. We know that that's not what he's about. There are a number of suitors out there that are going to pay Klay more than the Warriors are willing to pay him. And I do think years is a piece of this, and I don't know what the contract is going to be from the Warriors, what offer they've already made, because remember, they could have extended him 2 months ago, 5 months ago, 8 months ago.
Every day of the year.
They're, in fact, the only team right now that could sign Klay Thompson. They're the only ones. So they haven't done it, which tells me that they've probably talked about it, and the two sides are not of the same mind. And here we are on June 14th, and now we're talking about his Instagram. You know, he didn't do this 2 weeks ago.
Nope.
He didn't do it 5 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago when the season ended. Why would you do it now? Probably
because the conversations are happening now.
But I think because the conversations have happened and they've gotten to a point where it's over. And I'm with you on that part of it.
Yeah.
So that's why, to me, this becomes a big deal because it is June 14th. We're 18 days away from the start of free agency, and this is happening now, which tells me the two sides have gotten to a point where they're not going to be able to make this happen. And that's just it. And Klay knows it, and Klay's not happy about it. And so he goes to IG, and he can't fire out and start posting pictures of himself in a Magic jersey or show up at a Philadelphia Major League Soccer game. Or you do kind of still have to be low profile, but this is the one way you can kind of get your message out.
There's a couple things to think about here. I mean, if we go down this road, and we are all in agreement that this very likely is a sign that Klay Thompson plays somewhere else next year, it does bring sort of that little shiver up your spine. What are they going to do? I am a firm believer in this. If they're out on Klay, it's because they're in on something else big. I do think that. There were three things that could happen to the Warriors this offseason. In on something big.
Which means probably no Klay.
Right. Or
run it back.
Something big falls through, go to Klay. Or neither. I don't even see neither as possible. Because that would just look like the Warriors just big old strikeout. And they just don't do that.
Just run it back.
No, I mean no something big and no Klay. Like Klay's, I want to go to the Magic and all the other big names that may move. The Warriors don't get involved with any of them. And you come back just even lesser than you are, like youth movement, if you will.
Yeah.
Let's just hand it over to Kuminga and get out of the way. Those are your three options. And I don't think the third one is really all that possible. So that tells me that if you're letting Klay Thompson walk, it's because there's something large that's about to go down. I really do think